Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan, and thank you for joining us for our Monday weather update for August the 14th. And of course, on this date back in 2011, we had a big snowstorm across New Zealand with very heavy snow to sea level in Dunedin, Christchurch and Wellington. And there were even snow flurries in parts of Auckland and a dusting of snow on the ranges up in the far north. It was a very unusual time back on August the 14th and 15th in the year 2011. So a once in a lifetime kind of snow event. They tend to happen once every 30 or 40 years. You get a big blast like that. So we may have to wait a little while before we see snow falling in Auckland again. Anyway, this week, no big cold blast on the way, but there is a decent amount of snow on the way for the South Island, thanks to this area of low pressure and the southerly coming in and around it down here in southern areas. Further to the north, it won't be as cold and that low falls apart because it's surrounded by high air pressure. So it's a low trapped between the big highs. So we've got a bit of rain on the way. Now with the westerly airflow, it means western areas are most likely to see the heaviest rain. So you're talking about places like Taranaki up towards Waitomo and King Country. You're in that 30 to sort of 40 millimetre mark over the next 3 days. Other areas to see some heavy rain, Kapiti Coast up towards Levin, that area there, and you're also seeing the heavy rain on the west coast where there could be 50 or 60 millimetres on the way. Lowest rainfall totals along the eastern side of the country, which will be music to your ears, I'm sure. And we've got a bit of snow on the way, quite a bit in fact, for the mountain tops, 1/2 metre in the mountains through here. But the good news is for lower down areas, the farming communities, we're not really seeing any snow. And if there is, it's only going to be a very light dusting for some areas. Now, Central Plateau gets another burst of snow this week as well, only a few centimetres, but once again, it could affect State Highway 1, the Desert Road. Over in Australia, most of the wet weather still in the southern quarter, if you like, but a little bit coming up around into Sydney as well with about 5 to 10 millimetres for you, and that's also for the next 3 days ahead. So here we are on Tuesday with that low coming in around New Zealand. Now remember, as I said, surrounded by high pressure out to the west, to the east, and off the screen to the south. That means that the low has got a limited amount of energy and it starts to cannibalize itself. So it's probably about as big as it gets here on Tuesday. Westerlies for the top of the country and most of that rain and snow on the western side of the South Island. By the time we get to the middle of the week, the low, pretty weak itself, moving northwards. Still got wet weather in western areas, but that's why you're not seeing much in the way of rain at the top or the bottom of the country or in eastern areas because of the low and that westerly driven airflow with it. So by Thursday, the low is gone. Even though it looks really big on the maps at the moment, that's what happens when it's surrounded by high air pressure. If it didn't have that high pressure to the south, it would likely deepen. But it's been pushed away, and behind it, back come the westerlies again. And look at South Australia, full of southerlies, cold front coming through here, very unsettled kind of early spring weather pattern, which some of you are saying you're getting, and the rainfall totals across parts of Australia starting to drop now as New Zealand stays fairly wet. So at the end of this week, we've got a little brief dry spell with high pressure coming through there. That will bring in some frosts and sun. For places in the north, Auckland has had a really gloomy year. I think I read that the last full week of sunshine was back last year in the last week of December. So to get some dry weather, but look, still a few little showers coming into that western coastline, hard to see, but they are there. And this is quite an active cold front sweeping out of Australia with thunderstorms. So by the time we get to Saturday, that comes into the western side of New Zealand. It's a little bit like a spring cold front because it'll be short and sharp. It won't deliver a huge amount of rain, but it could be a little bit active with strong winds, a few thunderstorms, and then behind it, look at all the windy westerlies south of Aussie coming into Victoria, all up the eastern coastal side there, that southerly. So it's a proper cold front coming into both Australia and New Zealand at the end of this week and the start of the weekend. Well, that's all from me for today. Back again tomorrow, Tuesday, with our next update. We'll see you then.